Hi, my name is CJ and this is my RC channel. Okay, work table's a little bit of a mess. I've been doing a lot of stuff, doing some paint. Just took a little bit of silver and dressed this up a little bit. This is the fake fuel cell cover for the receiver box. I'm just about to attach the hood, which I just peeled the clear protective film off, just finished painting this. Got the roof on, light bar, it's not plugged in yet, it's working on electronics. Here's the sides painted. These screw on very easy. Sorry I didn't cover that in great detail, but there's not much to it. It's just a couple of screws. They're all in a separate pack. I've attached a couple of fire extinguishers just to, you know, kind of dress up some realism here. One on either side in the back. Just mounted off these rails with some small zip ties. Got the little antenna on. Just mounted that to the receiver box. Drilled a hole in the side big enough for the screw and mounted that right on there. It seemed like a no-brainer to put it there because the top edge is a nice vertical surface, and to mount the antenna you need a vertical surface. The antenna is not included. That's a separate item that I added to this kit. So let's go ahead and mount the hood up. The interior for the body is in paint right now, so it's coming along. Looks pretty horrible right now, but it'll come together. So what we need to do is we need to attach two body posts, so to speak. These two little guys right here, they've got a hole in them for a body pin. And those are going to attach under the hood with a pair of those are M3 by 6mm screws. And that's these two right here, and then a couple of 10s this size to attach to our hinges. And you want to put these on with the hole in the side facing left to right so that they will slide through here, and you can put a body pin through from underneath, and that will hold the hood down. So simple enough. Let's just get our wrench and our first screw. And these are soft enough that you should be able to drive it through on your own. If you do have trouble holding it, just take a thin Allen wrench, slide it through the hole for the body post to hold it in position. That'll also help you make sure you got it pointed the right way. And as usual, soft plastic, you don't need to screw it in too far or too hard. Just get it snug down and it'll be just fine that way. I kind of rushed the paint job a little bit. It's not as perfect as I would like, but I mean, it's a crawler, it's gonna get dirty, and you know, as with most RC car paint jobs, once you're 5 to 10 feet away from the thing, you can't see the teeny flaws. So there we go. Those drop right into those two holes like that. You just push them in and put in body pins. So now we can do our hinges. And let's see what the easiest way to do this is going to be. Okay, I'm going to use a body post reamer to open up this hole a little bit. I think the multiple coats of paint have kind of closed it up a little bit. Let's see if we're, nope, not quite. This will go together a lot easier if you can get those screws to pass through smoothly without having to literally screw them through the Lexan like that. So if you can just widen the holes a little bit, go easy with if you're using a body post reamer. Go even easier if you're using something like a like an X-Acto blade. You don't need to get it fully on. Get them both on, or at least both started, so that you can have it lined up and squared. Otherwise, might have to loosen up. You know, if you tighten one screw down and it's a little cockeyed, you're going to have to loosen that screw. If you don't loosen the screw and you try to rotate it, especially if your paint hasn't been drying for several days or something like that, and it's fully, you know, cured and matured, you could literally, even if it's not, you could scrape the plastic off by trying to rotate it on. I mean, scrape some of the paint off. So you could really muck up your paint job, because since the paint's on the underside, it's against the hood hinge. So if you try to turn it on a hood hinge, the hood hinge could scrape off some of that nice paint that you took all that time to do, and then you'd have to redo it. So there is our hood. So let's see. I am working on the electronics and figuring out where I want to put stuff. I've been working on some lighting things. I'm gonna do the 2 headlights like I said, and I think I'm gonna do a couple of extra lights. Let's see, where did I put those? Oh yeah, I've got some stuff over here. I was thinking about taking a pair of these Axial lights and mounting them over here. I'll have to fabricate like a little 90-degree bracket. I'll probably attach it to the body screw right there. That seems like a good place. I don't want to put them up here because, you know, I've already got the light bar, and with rollovers, these would be a casualty very quickly. Whereas on the side here, they're probably not going to catch too much damage, because if you get a view around here, if you look at like the roof right here, you know, from the wheels, they're kind of out of the way almost. So if this thing like goes tumbling down, they might get, you know, scuffed up a little bit, but they probably won't get ripped off. And they're so far inside the wheels that, you know, they stand a good chance of sticking around too. So I'm probably going to try a couple of those. Then I've got these small buckets here that are also, all of these lights here and the little grills for them and everything, that came off an Axial light kit. They sell it as an aftermarket item or an accessory item, and it's a whole bunch of plastic part trees. They give you clear lenses, they give you these amber lenses, and if you want to do something else, like I want to do a pair of tail lights, just like a set of brake lights, so I'm going to use a pair of these small buckets, and I took a clear lens, and let's see, where's the paint? I must have put it back on the shelf. There's these little Tamiya paints. They're for you know, more for like regular plastic models, you know, static models that don't go anywhere. and they make a translucent red. They also make a translucent orange. I think they make a yellow, but I took the clear lens and painted it with this translucent red, and so I've got a nice little see-through lens here that I can pop into this little socket here and put in an LED. And if I want to, I might use these little grills on them. I might not. I might just paint this edge black, or I might take this and trim the grill off this this trim ring here, and that way I can keep the ring. But I'll figure out what direction I want to go with that when the time comes. But anyway, I want to mount a couple of these like on the back corners here, kind of hanging down inside the bodywork, so they're not going to get hit on anything if it tips over and rolls backwards. And it's just, you know, just a couple of red running lights that, you know, most vehicles would have. Even a purely off-road vehicle, you usually have some type of rear lighting to let other vehicles see that you're there. Also, I was thinking about doing another pair of them with just the clear lenses, like reverse lights or rear mounted spotlights, and mount them back here under this roll bar right here. So they would be like here and here, pointing backwards. You know, reverse lights, and, you know, even a purely off-road vehicle, if you want to go out at night, you need a backup light, you know, and usually you need some big spots so that if you put it in reverse, you can see that you're not backing into a stump or off the edge of a cliff or something like that. You know, not that that's a factor for a model toy, but just to try to make a little more realism. I'm still debating about the big plastic jack. And oh, where is it? I've got a little plastic shovel and an axe and or a spade. I'm debating on between the three of those. If I do put them on here, I'm probably only going to do 2 of them. Wait a minute. I see them. They're over here. I'm thinking about like putting the shovel here, you know, tied up alongside this piece of roll bar here, and either this trenching digging tool or the axe over here like that. And I'll you know, do a couple of washes on them and some other stuff on the handles just to make them look a little more real and make them look used. That's where paints like these come in. Desert yellow, flat earth, red brown, stuff like that. And smoke is a good one for aging stuff, making it look dirty and weathered. I'm actually thinking about mounting this right on the hood like that, just to kind of give it a little, you know, another bit of realism. It's just too big to mount in the rear. I mean, I could put it across the back here, but it kind of sticks out a little too much. It would be across the, you know, coming across the top of the fuel cell. So if I needed to open that up to get at my receiver, I got to take this off. And wherever I put it, I kind of want it to be a semi-permanent resident. I mean, I probably want to be able to take it off if I need to, you know, do some cleaning under it or whatever. But, you know, this isn't a terrible place for it. Like right there or something like that. Anyway, we'll see. I'll cross that bridge when I come to it. I mean, this is definitely the kind of thing that a vehicle like this would have, but it should also have a spare tire, which it's not going to have. I'm certainly not going to bolt one of these giant suckers, you know, back here somewhere. So it's, you know, it's far from being a scaler type vehicle. It's a fun crawler, you know, versus a highly realistic crawler, but I'm trying to add a little realism. You know, that's why I did, you know, little touches like this, you know, a little bit of silver paint and a few minutes with a brush, and you know, all of a sudden it looks a lot better, looks a lot more real than just the all black. I might paint these rails right here silver as well. Debating on that, but we'll see. You know, just having fun with it and adding to it. So that's all for right now. I will, you know, continue showing you things as it evolves, and I'll probably talk about the electronic stuff. I've got some LEDs here already that I've had for a while, that, like these, I've got a couple red ones that I can put in those rear bulbs, and I got a couple I can put up in the front. I've got some that are already wired, part of a loom I was making for another project. So these could be fitted into the headlights. They're not the highest voltage. They have a max voltage of, max voltage is 3 volts. So I'm probably going to use like a single cell LiPo, and you know, just a little battery, something that's like 100, you know, 200 milliamp that I can just tuck in the receiver box and have the lights run off their own setup. Now these are made to run off a higher voltage, the light bar, so those will just get plugged into the receiver and those will be instant on whenever the receiver turns on. But I've got a little power switch here that I'll tuck in somewhere on the body and make that for the rest of the lights, since those are going to be, like I said, a lower voltage. And I mean, it's not going to be something that you could like drive by in pitch dark. That's not the idea. The idea is just to give it a nice look, add a little bit of brightness for when I'm, you know, doing photos or video of it, just to make it look a little neater. So the process continues. As you can see, I have painted and stickerized the body, and added a few little touches of realism, you know, put on these the 2 fire extinguishers, did a little paint work here, probably mentioned that already. Got the antenna going. I'm getting ready to do wiring, and it's kind of difficult because there's some disassembly required before the assembly continues. For example, to get this plate in here, and the drivers are headless at the moment because the helmets are in the process of being painted. I didn't want to just leave them that matte black plastic, so I primed them a couple of coats, and I actually tried an initial coat of paint, and I was using the Lexan paint, which doesn't really work on this plastic. It just peels right back off. Also, you get the big seam very visible. It's even more accentuated when you paint it than it is without. Also, these aren't glued together. The halves are not glued together, so you probably should take care of that. They are designed to overlap at the hole in the bottom, so you can just run a screw in there and they're gonna, for the most part, stay together. But I went ahead and glued them together, and I didn't really have any putty to work the seam, so I sanded it as smooth as I could within reason. Like I said, did a couple coats of primer. I've done some really fine grit sanding, 600 grit, just kind of polishing up some orange peel and a few little paint imperfections. And so they're gonna get hit with a coat of bright blue, and That'll make them stand out a little more. And then I'm going to be using, I think I'm going to use a different set of stickers for the for the visors. These are the two stock ones, and I happen to have these two visors here from a Protoform F1 kit. I think I'm going to use these two on the two helmets, just to, you know, it'll make one a little different from the other. Plus, they're also just a little higher detail than the gloss black. You know, as far as, you know, doing things like that, that's thoroughly up to you as to how far you want to go. I wasn't planning on spending this much time on the helmets. It's not really that much time. It's just steps where, you know, you got to let stuff dry, and then you got to come back to it, do a little work, and then let stuff dry again. If you're curious, this is just a wood skewer. These are bamboo skewers. You can get them in bags of a lot. I don't know, 40, 50, 100 of them at the grocery store for a few bucks. These things come in so handy, especially in the airplane end of the hobby. And they're going to come in handy again here in just a second for wire routing, as I'm about to show you. The servo wire right here. I don't like the, you know, red, white, and black servo wire, you know, just out here. If you're fortunate enough to have a servo that has an all black wire, you know, great. But mine is not. So as you can see, I have removed the servo clip. These are easy enough to take off. You just stick the tip of a sharp X-Acto blade under the edge of the little plastic tabs one at a time, ease the metal connectors out, and then you can put them right back in again. If you're careful, you're not going to damage this at all. So I'm working on the ESC as well. I decided that I was going to mount the power reset button for the Hobby Wing controller right here in between the two drivers. I just thought it would make for a nice look and easy to reach. Just, you know, reach right in the car. I did a little more effort than just the standard paint scheme of just hitting it with black. Like I used some silver paint on the to detail the steering wheel a little bit, as well as the straps for the harness. I didn't want to use the stickers. These surfaces are very rounded, and those stickers will peel up very easily. I went ahead and used the dashboard stickers that came with the kit, and they came out nice on top of the black background. I did some white up here because that's the neck area where you're going to have, you know, the Nomex long johns or fireproof long johns. I'm not sure if they use Nomex anymore. It's been decades since I was involved in motorsports. Anyway, so, you know, the helmets will go on here, and that'll go in. The next question is, how do you get this in here, you know? So, as I was started out with, there's going to be some disassembly. Right off the bat, I'm going to have to take the light bar off. I'm going to have to remove the screws here and here at the very least, and here, to be able to remove this center piece. That way I can insert this piece here, which is going to have the speed controller coming with it, because now this is a unit. Now the way I did this was I kind of measured where I wanted the wire to drop through. I used a standard body post reamer to make a nice hole there, and then just cut rearwards with an X-Acto blade so that I could kind of flex the piece like this and allow the wire to be brought through to this hole, and then this will just get two-sided taped in place, and that'll make for a nice clean installation of the switch. I believe this whole assembly here is waterproof, which would mean the switch is waterproof. So it didn't have a long enough wire to be able to reach the forward compartment, or I might have done it under the hood. But I still like this because, you know, it's gonna, you know, it kind of provides a nice visual look. like it's, you know, part of the interior, and having to pull the body pins and lift the hood every time you want to turn the radio or turn the receiver on and off. That just seems like a pain in the neck. I like the idea of just being able to reach in here or reach in from behind here and hit the switch and it's off. You know, deciding on wire routing also is difficult when the top and hood and such are on the car. They kind of show you all that in the directions, getting all this assembled, but they don't talk about, you know, getting all that gear in here. And you certainly can't do these solders while you're inside the car with this mounted up to the back plate there. Also, I am definitely not going to trust just two-sided tape. I'm going to probably use I'm definitely going to use a couple of zip ties. I'll just take some black nylon zip ties and attach it to that back section there just to make sure that the three-sided tape doesn't give way. These speed controllers are pretty heavy. Fortunately, the battery leads, the power leads, are long enough that they are going to be able to reach straight through. And since you've got this interior panel, you know, over this section here, you don't really need to worry about wires. All the wires can just run straight across. I may even glue a couple attachment points like here and here, at the very least in the middle, just to route wires easily through here where they're not going to be drooping down onto the transmission motor. Not that anything would happen to them there, but just to keep them up and out of the way, so there's no problems. So the basic plan is to have it oriented like this, with the motor wires basically coming around. So they're going to come up out of the motor and wrap around and soldering to the pins like this. And I'll show you all that as I'm going through that process. So let's deal with these wires. This is some braided cable housing, and it's nice to be able to have this, but getting wires into this stuff can be a real pain in the neck. So here's what I'm going to try. I'm going to start with this kitchen skewer here, and I'm going to take some tape. This is just painter's masking tape. And I'm going to basically line these up with the rear end of the post, or of the skewer, excuse me, and just wrap it around like that. Okay, I can tear it off at this point, and hopefully that will hold on to it while I slide it through here. Oh, I hate the way this stuff comes undone so easily. I wish there was a way to keep it from coming unwoven like that, but there just isn't. It's just something to deal with. Now, I'm not worried about covering the whole thing. I just want to cover the portion of it that is from the servo itself going up and under the hood area. So let me just undo this tape here. go. And one of the things that came with this kit are some, with the speed controller, some very small or very thin zip ties. So that's going to work well to anchor up at the front there and keep that nylon from unwinding itself or unweaving itself. Now, the hard part now is going to be getting in there with the nye tie, but I think I've got an idea for that too. I think what I'm just going to do is get it started, slide it down over there, and pull it tight. I can just trim that. There we go. And now I can put the other zip tie at this end, and I'll have a nicely shrouded wire that not only does it look a lot better, but it's going to be protected from being pinched or otherwise damaged. Get that nice and tight. There we go. Okay, so here we have our nicely shrouded wire. And so just to further this process at this point, it is time to take things apart. So I'm going to unbolt the hood, I'm going to unbolt the roof, I'm going to get this center body section out of the way, or the roll cage section out of the way, so I can reach in here and work a little better. When I actually do the soldering on the on these wires here, I'm probably just going to do that outside of the car, like right here. I'll probably prop up the ESC here, you know, with a little block or something like that, so I can just trim these about 1.5 inches or 2 inches, and that way they're going to be able to make that curve around. If you could, I don't know if we're going to be able to get the camera looking in the car. Let's see, yeah, hopefully. Okay, so basically the wires are going to wrap around to here, and I may even just leave all that extra wire, just go ahead and solder the tinned ends and just let that wire loop around here. It's not going to hurt anything. It's not really a weight issue of any kind, so that might actually be the easiest way to go, and least chance of the wire binding up or anything. And so I just need to, you know, prop the ESC up here, get my little fourth hand tool, and solder those up. Now this wire, I thought about doing the same thing that I did with the servo wire and using some of that woven sheathing. The problem is that this is so thin, and the webbed or woven sheath is so thick, it's gonna be bulky, and what I'll probably just do is either use a little bit of paint, or I've got this stuff called It's like a liquid, what is that stuff called? Hang on. Liquid tape. This stuff is fantastic, and I can just, you know, paint that on here. It'll cover up the red, and it'll make it a little stronger, a little more resistant to damage. Not that anything's going to happen. And then I can just kind of like anchor it behind one of these two posts here, and then run it into the receiver. You know, bundle up the excess, and there's plenty of it. So I've also got a little just a basic lighting kit or light controller coming. It's an Axial product. I will go over that when it comes in. Basically, it is a string of 4 or 6 white lights for the front end and 2 reds for the rear. As I mentioned, I'm going to be doing a couple of rear bucket lights back there, just to have some rear running lights. And I'm going to go ahead and do the 2 fronts. And since I'm going to have those bulbs already, I'm just going to wait, put 2 of them here, and then I'll probably mount a pair of buckets over here. And the 2 extras I may just leave off and not use, at least at this time. We'll see. Anyway, that's a fairly inexpensive item. It's about $25, maybe $30, I think. And it should be here in a few days, so it'll probably arrive before this section of video goes live anyway. I've got a ton of video to cut for you guys, so so I'm gonna go ahead and stop the video here for the time being. I'm going to go ahead and do the disassembly. That's not something you guys really need to see. It's just unscrewing stuff that you've already seen me put on. As you can see, I've done some disassembly. It's very easy, just a handful of screws, and you got the whole top off. So let's see, the thing that I'm doing right now is I'm going to anchor this cable to this piece of roll cage right down here. It's a piece that goes front to rear, and I'm going to do it from above. And so what I'm doing is, first I want to make sure that, you know, I can move this anywhere with this in position and not have it tug. And I also want to have it be a little have a little curve in it, a little slack in it. It never should be tight. So even at the furthest it could get away, it shouldn't be pulling, because that's how you're going to get fatigue and eventually have that wire become damaged if you let it get to that extreme. So always have some slack. Now, best way to get that is going to be over here, so on this side. So I've got the nigh tie as far away as possible, and it's naturally going to want to kind of straighten that out. So I've got some slack there. That looks good. So here's our nigh tie. It's nowhere near tires or anywhere near the springs, because I used a horizontal or more or less horizontal mounting point for it. It naturally tries to orient the wire in that direction, so it sends it forward and then arcs it back down here. So no matter how this articulates, this is good to go, no problems. And then this will just get run forward. I'll probably make some anchor points on the insides of the doors here, or just zip tie it like here and here on these two bars. And so I may take the rest of the body work off. In fact, I'm going to go ahead and do that. It just takes a second to take this off and put it back on again. So I'm not going to waste your time watching me do that. It's time to do some soldering. One nice thing, and there are many, about this Hobbywing Axe crawler specific setup is that the wires are already tinned. And as I mentioned earlier, I'm not going to try to trim these down and shave off an extra inch of wire to save a little weight. I'd rather them just be able to curve over to the mounting point and have them not, you know, be tensioned or anything like that. So all I need to do is tin these connectors here, and I'm going to do that one at a time as I solder the wires. So it's all simple enough. So always make sure you get good, solid connections. You always want to have both pieces tinned, or both parts of the connection tinned. Connection B here. Excellent. And since this already has the type of connectors my battery has, minimal soldering. 3 connections, and I'm done. Gotta love it. I love it when a plan comes together. Good old A-Team. Taking it back to the 80s reference.
I hope you enjoyed this video. Please click like and please subscribe to my channel.